Superman 2025 hails at the golden rule of writing: show, don't tell. And some might say it just comes down to that it didn't have an origin story, and if it had just told the origin of Superman, it would have been fine. But then we look only 3 years earlier, and we had the Batman, which also didn't tell the origin story, but it worked. So why does one opening work and one doesn't? Let's start by analyzing the opening, starting with Superman 2025. We begin with Superman mid-fight having to go back to the fortress to heal up, and then you have it so his robots have to explain to him his parents' message. He comes back, he has to continue his fight with an armored man from a country which he had taken down their dictator. Then you flash to Lex, and you hear people explain that Lex has been trying to take down Superman for 2 years now. Then you have Superman at the planet, and people at the planet explain stuff about Superman. Time after time, it's just moment after moment of telling. Versus the Batman. We begin with the Riddler murdering the mayor. Then we flash a voiceover from Batman as he explains that his city is ruled by fear and darkness, and that he is the vengeance in the night. We see people as they look in the sky wondering where Batman might be. He could be anywhere. And then you finally see Batman come out and he beats up some thugs. And then you have him go off and investigate this murder that happened. So I feel like the best way that we can analyze them is by putting them in each other's styles. So let's start with Superman. So instead we'll begin Superman with a speech from Lex Luthor. And we see a crowd of people all passionately listen to what Lex has to say, when suddenly Superman flies by and takes away their attention, and you just see a simple look on Lex's face. And then boom, we have set up Lex's motivation. Then we see Superman doing some saves. We flash past the TV, which we stick on for a few seconds, and just enough time to hear Superman invaded this country and took down their dictator. The country is now upset with him. Boom. Now let's switch over to the Batman. We begin with Batman showing up at the 5th murder of the Riddler. Two of the officers are talking in the background. They're like, Batman has been working on this case for 6 months now, and he still hasn't had a break. I don't know what we're gonna do. Yeah, our city's run by fear. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So you see the problem? One begins by throwing you into the middle of a conflict, while the other one is, this person's already established. It's not saying that Superman has only just started becoming Superman. No, he's already Superman. People already know about Superman. But the villain of the story, either the villain's already halfway through his fight with the hero, or he's just started. In the Batman, it doesn't say Batman only just got started as Batman. It says that he's been Batman for 2 years now. This is his 2nd year as Batman. He's still new at this, just like in the Superman movie, how Superman is still new at being Superman. Because of that, both of them are still learning stuff, and so they're learning throughout the story to become better heroes, with Batman beginning basically as the sign of darkness, and ending the movie with being a sign of light to Gotham City. And we see that with Superman, he's not fully trusted, and by the end of the movie, he's a lot more trusted by people. People like Superman more. Before we move on to more breaking this down, let's quickly address why we don't need the origin stories for these two characters and why it can work without them. The first Superman comic came out in the late 30s. 1930s. It's almost 100 years since the first Superman comic came out. We have seen plenty of adaptations of Batman and Superman's origin story. We don't need to re-see that again, as some people rightfully point out on the internet. If you want to watch Superman's origin story, go watch the 1978 Superman. If you want to watch the Batman origin story, watch Batman Begin or the Batman from the 90s. You don't need their origin story in these versions because you already know them. So that's why, no, it is not the problem with just the fact that you don't have an origin story. The problem comes from whether you are starting a story in the middle of the conflict, or you start in the middle of the conflict but from a safe place. In the Batman, the Joker's already been captured. He's already fought the Joker before. But the Riddler is a new villain on the scene. He doesn't know everything about the villain. As far as the story goes, this was the Riddler's first kill. He's new on the scene. Batman already has some of his villains locked up. He already has a connection with the city. He's already known by the city, but it's still a new conflict he's dealing with. While with Superman, we jump in, same thing. It's a couple years after Superman became Superman. He's already known by the city. He's not fully the Superman that everyone knows and loves yet. He's still growing. But then the problem is you have the villain of the story. Lex has already been fighting Superman, and while we don't need too much of an origin story on Lex, but we can't jump into the middle of the conflict and then just say, hey, but we still need to explain it, so we're just gonna have two of his employees just explain it to each other. Like, as you know, Lex has been hating on Superman for 2 years now, and he's been building an arsenal of weapons that defeat Superman. Like, you jump into the middle of the conflict. You could have easily have had, in my version, you could have had it so it's, make it so it's the first year of Superman and then have it so it's flash forward and now he's been at it for 2 years. You showed a quick moment of this is his origin. You don't have to have someone explain it to you, as you know, Lox doesn't like Superman because of this reason. And then you also have the problem with the conflict of Superman taking down that dictator in that other country, where you don't need to full on show the scene of him taking down that guy, but instead of just having it so in an interview he just explains the whole situation without showing us any of what happened there outside of just what he tells us in that interview with Lois. All you have to do is see that one moment of just, you know, we do see that in the movie too, where the dictator is saying like, I don't like Superman, and he's complaining about Superman, but instead of having it so you just introduce the armored man fighting Superman and then explain that, instead you do the opposite way around. You show this quick moment, even if it's just 10 seconds, it's just 10 seconds of this is what happened with Superman over a screen, over something that seems a little bit more legitimate. Then you have it so then maybe 10 minutes into the movie, that's when the armored man shows up and he starts fighting him. And thus, now we just set up Superman saving some people first, so we already know how powerful Superman can be. So then when he fights this guy, it's more intimidating the fact that he's able to fight with Superman on the same level. And then you also have it so now we know why he's there, instead of him just showing up and you're just starting in the middle of the fight. They both don't do a horrible job with world building in the fact that they both set up this is what Metropolis is like and this is what Gotham's like. The only difference is that it comes down to, are you starting the story from a good place to jump in, or you starting from the middle point? If you're doing a Christopher Nolan's type non-chronological story, then you can do it so it jumps, have that scene, but then it flashes back to something and it bounces back and forth with things. That can be alright in some cases, but you have to actually somewhat show it. Because when it comes down to it, film is a visual media, and so thus you should try your best. It's okay to tell things, but you want to try your best to show things as well. Not all the times are you going to have people able to just like take down notes. Okay, so this is what's going on. There's a reason why there's a strong show don't tell mentality. It's because people collect things more when they see it and hear it. If you see something and hear it at the same time, it's going to get into two parts of your brain. If you're just saying, so we don't have the time to show you why Lox doesn't like Superman, so we're just going to tell you and you're going to get into your head. We don't have the time to show you what happened with this conflict with this other country, so we're just going to have Superman tell Lois, and that's good enough for you, right? Just constant that after that. But the Batman, it does in the voiceover, Batman is explaining how his city runs and how he's a shadow in the night. Could be anywhere. And instead of it just being a black screen and just explaining that, or just have him just at a coffee shop with a cup of coffee, just staring off into the screen saying, so, this is how my city looks. I am Batman, and my city is like just staring at him, looking at the camera or something like that. Instead, it's you have him explain it, but you're also in the same time seeing this person robbing a convenience store and then going out, and he's worried that Batman is around the corner, so he's freaking out. It shows and tells at the same time. So when it comes down to it, it's not about whether you have the origin story or not. We don't really need Batman's origin story. We don't need Superman's origin story. But what we need is the story not to throw you into the middle of the conflict and expect your audience to be able to just focus on this dialogue and just pick up what they need from the dialogue instead of showing it. And the truth is, some people are better at doing that than others. Personally, myself, I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. And so because of that, I love my slow stories where we can have that scenes where people are just talking things through somewhat, where you have the Council of Elrond. But even with the Rings, while you have stuff like the Council of Elrond, where it's a lot of people talking, the big conflicts of the story happens in showing what's happening. With the opening with the forging of the Great Rings and all, it shows it. It's not a black screen that just says, and rings were formed, they defeated Sauron, and Isildur got the ring of power. It actually shows it. So if you are writing a movie, or if you're writing a book, or whatever story you're telling, remember that you don't always have to begin the story from the very beginning. You can have it so it jumps in and the character's already established as a hero. But the important thing is, are you starting it from a place where you would have to take the time to re-explain details that are important to the story that you don't show, or you're making sure to show those details so that thus once the person is halfway through the movie, they're already caught up with what needs to happen, instead of having to quickly catch you up. Here's a dialogue scene, here's another dialogue scene to catch you up on what's actually happening. So with that being said, tell me your thoughts below. And if you like this video and you want to see more videos like this, consider subscribing. This has been the Movie Net Reviewer, Peter Wary, signing off.